to Tech and Trails. I am a senior engineering manager with one of the leading medical device companies, and I have over 13 years of medical device experience. Today, I thought of talking about ISO 14971, which is an essential tool for managing risks in this industry. Imagine a life-saving device being recalled due to avoidable risks. Within this video, I'll show you how exactly 14971 prevents this and how mastering it can boost your career. Whether you are an engineer, quality professional, or simply curious about how medical devices stay safe and effective, this video is for you. Stick around as I'll also share some real-world examples and actionable steps to master the risk management. Now, when it comes to the basics of risk management, or when we think about what a safe medical device is, does it mean free from all type of risks, or is it fail-safe, or simply single fault safe? What that essentially means is, can we make something which is free from all the risks at all? In reality, it's not possible. It's not only true for medical devices, but for anything that you see around you. For example, a car that we drive on daily basis. The first or one of the main risks is the seatbelt. If it's not properly locked in, you can run at a risk if you run into an accident. Now, this is where ISO 14971 comes in, which dictates about the definition or defining what a safe medical device is. And from 14971 perspective, a safe medical device is the one which is free or has a freedom from any sort of unacceptable risk, which essentially means is we can have risks within a device, but as long as we have minimized those based on proper risk control measures and mitigating processes in place. This is where if we go further along the lines into the process which is dictated by risk management, it is more like a cyclic process. This is where you are supposed to, it is a systematic process of identifying the risks or hazards, evaluating those risks, and implementing or mitigating those risks as far as possible or as low as reasonably possible. And then once the product hits the market or from production to and the market launch, this is where you go into a monitoring phase where you are supposed to continuously monitor the risk in the field. In simple terms, it's all about safety and compliance, where we are supposed to minimize harm while maximizing product effectiveness. Along with 14971, I don't want to be biased around with 14971. I just wanted to give a bigger picture that there are other industry recognized standards or regulations as well. For example, the other big one is EUMDR, European Medical Device Regulation, which has their own dedicated sections specifically around risk management and post-market surveillance side of things. And then also FDA has guidance around risk management. All these collectively essentially dictates that the risk reduction should be as far as possible, and also it requires state-of-the-art design, processes, documentation in place. Now, why is it even a topic of discussion? Why I'm even recording this video? This leads me to the next topic about why risk management matters. Imagine a pacemaker failing due to an overlooked design flaw. For example, this is a real world example. I won't go into the details to compromise the confidentiality, but a company released a medical device with a new material. Later, reports showed adverse skin reactions in patients. And what the company did at that time, they applied the risk management principles, and that helped drag the issue back to a specific component used within the pacemaker. And then that led to the next step of solution, right? Replacing the material, reevaluating its safety, and implementing stricter testing for future designs. This essentially saved the company from further recalls and restored trust in their patients and customers as well. So bottom line is the consequences of not appropriately managing the risk could be life threatening for both patients and also devastating for the company as well. This is why it is really important to have an effective risk management in place. It is truly non-negotiable to not have that type of process in place. It protects patients, ensures compliance, and prevent costly recalls. And beyond these practical benefits, it helps trust build the trust with patients, regulators, and business partners as well. Now let's moving on. Now moving on to the risk management process overall from 4971 perspective. 4971 requires you to have risk management aspects considered throughout the life cycle of the product. Now, depending on the type of the device, those life cycles may vary, but more broadly, it's always going to be starting from the initial concept, design, production, so on and so forth, all the way up to the use and decommissioning of the product. This is where risk management process is structured into four key steps. Number one is around identification. This is where you list all the potential hazards. For example, is there a risk of electrical failure, or to the previous example, biocompatibility issue. The second is around risk evaluation. Here you assess how likely the risk is to occur and how severe the impact could be. Think of it as a scoring system to prioritize what needs attention first. And then the third main important pillar of risk management is risk control. This involves implementing measures to minimize or eliminate risks. It could mean changing materials, adding safety features, or including warnings in the labeling. Last but not the least, with a lot of the companies don't do it appropriately. Based on my experience, is even after the product is on the market, the risk needs to be reassessed regularly. This is where you are supposed to get feedback loop from complaints, incidents, literature data, clinical evaluation reports that would help you refine your um, process and each step ensure risks are not only managed initially but continuously addressed throughout the product life cycle. And all this, based on 14971, is supposed to be captured within a risk management procedure and a policy. This is where companies are supposed to have a SOP, a risk management policy, and then that would lead or dictate a risk management plan for a particular project or a system or a product. And once you execute on that plan, you're supposed to, towards the end, you're supposed to create a risk management report, and all the documentation that you have executed throughout the life cycle, those all will become part of your RMF or risk management file. But as I continuously emphasizing on the aspect, risk management is a continuous process. When you're compiling your risk management report, some of the questions that you need to ask yourself is, was the risk management implemented appropriately? Is the overall residual risk acceptable? And are methods in place for collection and review of production and post-production information? The combination of all this is going to give you a risk management report. And then this is where you'll compile your risk management file. But job is not done there. Again, sounding like a broken record. The risk management is a continuous process. This is where it becomes more cyclic. You need to have production and post-production activities in place to ensure that you have proper channels, processes in place to get all the post-market data and information and all the other feedback as well. There are various different tools and techniques that could be used for risk analysis or hazard analysis. Companies use things like system hazard log, traceability matrix, and then also they have FMEA's, failure mode and effect analysis. There are risk matrices, which helps you assess severities and probabilities. Then there are also software tools as well, which helps you streamline the documentation and reporting. It all depends on how you have structured your risk management process. And then now moving on to the next step within the risk management, which is the key, is about risk calculations. How do you calculate that? I'll keep it high level. but wanted to go through that as well. When it comes to the risk calculation, there are multiple sources that you need that needs to be considered for both normal use and for also single fault conditions as well. You could This is where you could look at things like published standards, intended use, testing during the design phase, design verification, validation, post-market data. And then towards the end, in the absence of any of this, or in conjunction with any of this, you could do an expert assessment, which essentially means you have guessed. And if you are doing that, you're not alone. A lot of the companies do that in the absence of quantitative or even qualitative data from the risk calculation perspective. Now I'll show you one of the templates that I have for hazard traceability log or matrix, or some companies call it system hazard analysis. But essentially, you have a big giant Excel sheet where you will divide that into three sections around risk analysis. This is where you are trying to categorize the hazard, the hazardous situation, the harm associated with it, and then you will do the risk evaluation associated with that, and then you will implement. Risk evaluation is going to be the initial one before the implementation of any risk controls or risk mitigations. And then once you have implemented those design controls or risk mitigations, then you will do a residual risk evaluation, which hopefully should bring down your risk. For example, if you see in this particular example that I have, initially the risk was not acceptable, but after the implementation of risk controls, the risk did go down. But we still need to do the monitoring. That's why it's in yellow, not because of the severity associated with it. Now, uh, now, I would talk about a little bit technicalities of how you calculate those probabilities. Risk overall, it's a combination of probability of occurrence of harm, or P occurrence, a lot of the companies call it, or P harm, and the severity of that harm. And this is where when you are doing the probability calculations, there are two probabilities that you need to consider. Most of the time, companies do it that way. Number one is P1, which is the probability of hazardous situation occurring. For example, if you have a medical device which has a sharp edge, uh, that sharp edge, it's a hazard. And then it could lead to a hazardous situation of where a patient or a customer comes in contact with that sharp edge. That's the hazardous situation. That's the probability P1 of that. P2 is that probability of that hazardous situation leading to harm. Now, if we use the same sharp edge example, the harm that could happen is, for example, a patient or a user can get a cut, which could lead to bleeding, for instance. And then towards the end, you are supposed to calculate a probability of occurrence, P occurrence or P harm. It's going to be a multiplication of P1 and P2. And then the sum of that with severity is going to give you the risk. Severity at a high level is how severe your risk or hazard is. For example, if you have a spectrum ranging from negligible all the way up to catastrophic, 5 scale numbers I've seen most of the time. And this is where negligible means it's going to be just like customer or user annoyance. Catastrophic is going to be there could be a death involved. And then there are intermediate ranking as well, like minor, critical, moderate. This is where the patient could have various different type of implications from the patient safety perspective. Now, moving on from the technical stuff to more of the challenges in the risk management. Of course, risk management isn't without its challenges. Navigating complex global regulations, balancing innovation with safety, and maintaining effective post-market monitoring are significant hurdles. However, standards like 4971 provides a clear roadmap, making it easier to align processes with regulatory expectations. So, to wrap up, risk management is the backbone of safety and compliance in the medical device industry. It protects patient safety, build trust, and ensure business success. Towards the end, if you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more insights, and share this with anyone who might benefit. And let me know in the comments down below what topics you would like me to cover next. I know I kept this video very high level, but if you want me to go into further details on a particular topic, please let me know. And thanks so much for watching.